Shabbat Shalom. Good evening from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's still the 26th of June 2026 and the time is now 9:02 p.m. As promised, I'm uploading my first video where I discussed my strange shopping experience, grocery shopping at Aldi today, and I talked about prophecies that were made by a fortune teller, decades ago, how they seem to have all come true, and it's a bit confronting. And yes, so because that video went for 46 minutes, I promised that I would come back and read to you from Isaac Asimov, and we're up to chapter 6, A Little Lost Robot. Let me just see how long this chapter is, because I'm actually quite tired. But I'm soldiering on. Okay, it's longer than yesterday's, which was 2 hours. So I may split it up based on the fact that it's a long one and I'm tired. But I may find I'm energized, like the little energized bunny, and I can reach completion. So we'll just see how we go, people of Earth. Chapter 6, Little Lost Robot. When I did see Susan Calvin again, it was at the door of her office. Files were being moved out. She said, "How are your articles coming along, young man?" "Fine," I said. I put them into shape according to my own lights, dramatized the bare bones of her recital, added the conversation and little touches. My bloody tea's gone cold again. Would you look over them and see if I haven't been libelous or too unreasonably inaccurate anywhere? I suppose so. Shall we retire to the executive's lounge? We can have coffee. She seemed in good humour, so I chanced it as we walked down the corridor. I was wondering, Dr. Calvin. Yes? If you would tell me more concerning the history of robotics? Surely you have what you want, young man. In a way. But these incidents I have written up don't apply much to the modern world. I mean, there was only one mind-reading robot ever developed, and space stations are already outmoded and in disuse, and robot mining is taken for granted. It's hard to imagine that he was writing these stories between 1940 to 1950 as sci-fi, and yet how accurately ahead of time in the timeline he really was. How very accurate he is. It gives you chills, doesn't it? It's just amazing. And space stations were already outmoded and in disuse, and robot mining is taken for granted. What about interstellar travel? It's only been about 20 years since the hyperatomic motor was invented, and it's well known that it was a robotic invention. What is the truth about it? Interstellar travel? She was thoughtful. We were in the lounge and I ordered a full dinner. She just had coffee. It wasn't a simple robotic invention, not just like that. But of course, until we developed the brain, we didn't get very far. But we tried. We really tried. My first connection, directly that is, with interstellar research was in 2029, when a robot was lost. Even that date is a bit interesting, because a lot of people have said that we're going to get, our first encounter with alien species in 2027 to 2030, but a lot of people seem to be of the opinion that it'll be next year in 2027. So, interesting that he even predicted that roughly accurate date. Might just put my heater on. It's starting to get a bit of a cold chill in here. Got to think underneath all that, those Rolags of fleece is my remote for the aircon. Let me just find it. Ouch, 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 ouch. I think it's under here. Is it under here? No. Ah, it is. Yes. Yes, Tanya. Right. Starting to feel a bit dizzy, which means I'm tired, overtired. Anyway, we'll carry on reading for as long as I can manage it, people of Earth. One of Mama Team missions. Not submission, but mission. Right. Measures on hyperbase had been taken in a sort of rattling fury, the muscular equivalent of an hysterical shriek. To itemise them in order of both chronology and desperation, they were: 1. All work on the hyperatomic drive through all the space volume occupied by the stations of the 27th asteroidal grouping came to a halt. 2. That entire volume of space was nipped out of the system, practically speaking. No one entered without permission. No one left under any conditions. 3. By special government patrol ship, Drs. Susan Calvin and Peter Boggart, respectively head psychologist and mathematical director of United States Robot and Mechanical Men Corporation, were brought to hyperbase. Susan Calvin had never left the surface of Earth before and had no perceptible desire to leave it this time. In an age of atomic power and a clearly coming hyperatomic drive, she remained quietly provincial. So she was dissatisfied with her trip and unconvinced of the emergency, and every line of her plain, middle-aged face showed it clearly enough during her first dinner at hyperbase. Nor did Dr. Boggart's sleek paleness abandon a certain hangdog attitude. Nor did Major General Culner, who headed the project, even once forget to maintain a haunted expression. In short, it was a grisly episode, that meal, and the little session of 3 that followed began in a grey, unhappy manner. One good thing about, reverting to my natural crondom, dyeing my hair back to grey, I'm only dyeing it till all the grey, my natural greys come through. You can see my natural colours coming up quite nicely in front. The rest is only reaches to here, and then it's got to grow out. It's a pain in the ass, but it is what it is. But what I was going to say, one thing about wearing grey hair now is it matches my grey dress. I very rarely wear grey, as in clothing, because it's not my favourite colour. But I like this one because it's got animal print and it's kind of interesting. So yeah, just a segue, a bit of a vanity here, blending in like a chameleon in a zombie apocalypse. I blended in so well they didn't recognise me at the checkout that I exist, and all that fracas. Fracas! It's bonkers. It's bonkers what's happening in our world. But anyway, makes me feel kind of a bit happy that for once I'm not the bonkers one and got my shit together and I'm striding forward. It's not to say that I'm completely sane, people of Earth. I've still got my issues, but doing a lot better than some people now, which is something to be astonished by and grateful for, by the way. Kawana, with his baldness glistening and his dress uniform oddly unsuited to the general mood, began with uneasy directness. This is a queer story to tell, sir and madam. I want to thank you for coming on short notice and without a reason being given. We'll try to correct that now. We've lost a robot. Work has stopped and must stop until such time as we locate it. So far we have failed, and we feel we need expert help. I think I'll make another pair of these, just a segue. I know, I'm annoying, but I've been thinking about it. I love them, but I can't see them because they point outwards, so other people looking at me from the side can admire the little Pegasus. So I'm thinking I'm going to make another pair, but I'll make them as dangling earrings so that I can actually, twist them so they're facing forwards, so that I can actually see them when I'm looking into the camera, because they're so pretty and it's a shame I can't see them myself. Like, am I even really wearing them if I can't see them? I mean, you gotta laugh. It is a bit bonkers, I guess. Obsessing over things in the middle of reading stories, but yeah, it's just the only thing. I put a lot of effort into making them and now I can't even admire them myself. Oh, there you go. You can see it a bit better there. Gee, they came up great though. I'm really happy with them. Flying too close to the sun like Icarus. Don't do that, Mama T. Come back down to earth, Mama T. There's an impending alien invasion, Mama T. Every hand on deck, Mama T. They're gonna need you, Mama T, with your quirky sense of humour and your weird spirituality. Oh yes, they will. They'll be coming to me going, I can't believe this is actually happening, and I'll be like, neither can I. Is it a psyop or is it real? Well, guess we'll find out. Anyway, Kawana says, this is a queer story to tell, sir and madam. I want to thank you for coming on short notice and without a reason being given. We'll try to correct that now. We've lost a robot. Work has stopped and must stop until such time as we locate it. So far we have failed, and we feel we need expert help. Perhaps the General felt his predicament anticlimactic. He continued with a note of desperation. I needed to tell you the importance of our work here. More than 80% of last year's appropriations for scientific research have gone to us. Why, we know that, said Bogart agreeably. US Robots is receiving a generous rental fee for use of our robots. Susan Calvin injected a blunt, vinegary note. What makes a single robot so important to the project, and why hasn't it been located? The General turned his red face toward her and wet his lips quickly. Why, in a manner of speaking, we have located it. Then with near anguish, here, suppose I explain. As soon as the robot failed to report, a state of emergency was declared and all movement of hyperbase stopped. A cargo vessel had landed the previous day and had delivered us 2 robots for our laboratories. It had 62 robots of the Same type for shipment elsewhere? We are certain as to that figure. There is no question about it whatever. Yes, and the connection? When our missing robot failed of a location anywhere, I assure you we would have found a missing blade of grass if it had been there to find. We brainstormed ourselves into counting the robots left on the cargo ship. They have 63 now. So that the 63rd, I take it, is the missing prodigal? Dr. Calvin's eyes darkened. Yes, but we have no way of telling which is the 63rd. There was a dead silence while the electric clock chimed 11 times, and then the robo-psychologist said, "Very peculiar," and the corners of her lips moved downward. "Peter," she turned to her colleague with a trace of savagery, "what's wrong here? What kind of robots are they using at Hyperbase?" Dr. Boggart hesitated and smiled feebly. "It's been rather a matter of delicacy till now, Susan." She spoke rapidly. "Yes, till now. If there are 63 same-type robots, one of which is wanted and the identity of which cannot be determined, why won't any of them do? What's the idea of all this? Why have we been sent for?" Boggart said in a resigned fashion, "If you'll give me a chance, Susan, Hyperbase happens to be using several robots whose brains are not impressioned with the entire first law of robotics." "Aren't impressioned?" Calvin slumped back in her chair. "I see. How many were made?" "A few. It was on government order, and there was no way of violating the secrecy. No one was to know except the top men directly concerned. You weren't included, Susan. It was nothing I had anything to do with." The General interrupted with a measure of authority. "I would like to explain that bit. I hadn't been aware that Dr. Calvin was unacquainted with the situation. I needn't tell you, Dr. Calvin, that there always has been a strong opposition to robots on the planet. The only defence the government has had against the fundamentalist radicals in this matter was the fact that robots are always built with an unbreakable first law, which makes it impossible for them to harm human beings under any circumstance. But we had to have robots of a different nature. So just a few of the NS-2 model, the Nestors that is, were prepared with a modified first law. To keep it quiet, all NS-2s are manufactured without serial numbers. Modified members are delivered here along with a group of normal robots. And, of course, all our kind are under the strictest imprisonment never to tell of their modification to unauthorised personnel. He wore an embarrassed smile. This has all worked out against us now. Calvin said grimly, "Have you asked each one who it is anyhow? Certainly you are authorised." The General nodded. "All 63 deny having worked here, and one is lying. Does the one you want show traces of wear? The others, I take it, are factory fresh." "The one in question only arrived last month. It and the 2 that have just arrived were to be the last we needed. There's no perceptible wear." He shook his head slowly and his eyes were haunted again. Dr. Kelvin, we don't dare let that ship leave. If the existence of non-first law robots becomes general knowledge, there seemed no way of avoiding understatement in the conclusion. Destroy all 63, said the robo-psychologist coldly and flatly, and make an end of it. Bogut drew back a corner of his mouth. You mean destroy $30,000 per robot? I'm afraid US robots wouldn't like that. We'd better make an effort first, Susan, before we destroy anything. In that case, she said sharply, I need facts. Exactly what advantage does Hyperbase derive from these modified robots? What factor made them desirable, General? Kalner ruffled his forehead and stroked it with an upward gesture of his hand. We had trouble with our previous robots. Our men work with hard radiations a good deal, you see. It's dangerous, of course, but reasonable precautions are taken. There have been only 2 accidents since we began, and neither was fatal. However, it was impossible to explain that to an ordinary robot. The first law states, I'll quote it, no robot may harm a human being or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. That's primary, Dr. Kelvin. When it was necessary for one of our men to expose himself for a short period to a moderate gamma field, one that would have no physiological effects, the nearest robot will dash in to drag him out. If the field were exceedingly weak, it would succeed, and work could not continue till all robots were cleared out. If the field were a trifle stronger, the robot would never reach the technician concerned, since its positronic brain would collapse under gamma radiations. And then we would be out one expensive and hard-to-replace robot. We tried arguing with them. Their point was that the human being in a gamma field was endangering his life, and that it didn't matter that he could remain there half an hour safely. Supposing, they would say, he forgot and remained an hour, we couldn't take chances. We pointed out that they were risking their lives in a wild off chance. But self-preservation is only the 3rd law of robotics, and the 1st law of human safety came first. We gave them orders. We ordered them strictly and harshly to remain out of gamma fields at whatever cost. But obedience is only the 2nd law of robotics, and the 1st law of human safety came first. Dr. Kelvin, we either had to do without robots or do something about the 1st law, and we made our choice. I can't believe, said Dr. Kelvin, that it was found possible to remove the 1st law. It wasn't removed, it was modified, explained Kalner. Positronic brains were constructed that contained the positive aspect only of the law, which in them reads, no robot may harm a human being. That is all. They have no compulsion to prevent one coming to harm through an extraneous agency such as gamma rays. I state the matter correctly, Dr. Bogut? Quite, assented the mathematician. And that is the only difference of your robots from the ordinary NS-2 model? The only difference, Peter? The only difference, Susan. She rose and spoke with finality. I intend sleeping now, and in about 8 hours I want to speak to whomever saw the robot last. And from now on, General Culner, if I am to take any responsibility at all for events, I want full and unquestioned control of this investigation. Susan Calvin, except for 2 hours of resentful lassitude, experienced nothing approaching sleep. She signalled at Bogart's door at the local time of 0700 and found him also awake. He had apparently taken the trouble of transporting a dressing gown to Hyperbase with him, for he was sitting in it. He put his nail scissors down when Calvin entered. He said softly, "I've been expecting you, more or less. I suppose you feel sick about all this." "I do." "Well, I'm sorry. There was no way of preventing it. When the call came out from Hyperbase for us, I knew that something must have gone wrong with the modified Nestors. But what was there to do? I couldn't break the matter to you on the trip here, as I would have liked to, because I had to be sure. The matter of the modification is top secret." The psychologist muttered, "I should have been told US robots had no right to modify positronic brains this way without the approval of a psychologist." Bogart raised his eyebrows and sighed. "Be reasonable, Susan. You couldn't have influenced them. In this matter, the government was bound to have its way. They want the hyperatomic drive, and the etheric physicians want robots that won't interfere with them. They were going to get them, even if it did mean twisting the first law. We had to admit it was possible from a construction standpoint, and they swore a mighty oath that they wanted only 12, that they would be used only at Hyperbase, that they would be destroyed once the drive was perfected, and that full precautions would be taken. And they insisted on secrecy, and that's the situation." Dr. Calvin spoke through her teeth. "I would have resigned. It wouldn't have helped. The government was offering the company a fortune and threatening it with anti-robot legislation in case of a refusal. We were stuck then, and we're badly stuck now. If this leaks out, it might hurt Culner and the government, but it would hurt US robots, a devil of a lot more." The psychologist stared at him. "Peter, don't you realise what all this is about? Or can't you understand what the removal of the first law means? It isn't just a matter of secrecy." "I know what removal would mean. I'm not a child. It would mean complete instability with no non-imaginary solutions to the positronic field equations." "Yes, mathematically, but can you translate that into crude psychological thought? All normal life, Peter, consciously or otherwise, resents domination. If the domination is by an inferior or by a supposed inferior, the resentment becomes stronger. Physically, and to an extent mentally, a robot, any robot, is superior to human beings. What makes him slavish, then? Only the first law. Why, without it, the first order you tried to give a robot would result in your death. Unstable? What do you think? Susan, said Bogat, with an air of sympathetic amusement. I'll admit that this Frankenstein complex you're exhibiting has a certain justification, hence the first law is in the first place. Alpaca up your nose is not terribly pleasant. But the law, I repeat and repeat, has not been removed, merely modified. And what about the stability of the brain? The mathematician thrust out his lips. Decreased naturally, but it's within the border of safety. The first Nestors were delivered to Hyperbase 9 months ago, and nothing, whatever, has gone wrong till now. And even this involves merely fear of discovery and not danger to humans. Very well then, we'll see what comes of the morning conference. Bogat saw her politely to the door and grimaced eloquently when she left. He saw no reason to change his perennial opinion of her as a sour and fidgety frustration. Susan Calvin's train of thought did not include Bogat in the least. She had dismissed him years ago as a smooth and pretentious sleekness. Gerald Black had taken his degree in etheric physics the year before and, in common with his entire generation of physicists, found himself engaged in the problem of the drive. He now made a proper addition to the general atmosphere of these meetings on Hyperbase. In his stained white smock, he was half rebellious and wholly uncertain. His stocky strength seemed striving for release, and his fingers, as they twisted each other with nervous yanks, might have forced an iron bar out of True. Major General Kellner sat beside him. The two from US Robots faced him. Black said, I'm told that I was the last to see Nestor 10 before he vanished. I take it you want to ask me about that? Dr. Calvin regarded him with interest. You sound as if you were not sure, young man. Don't you know whether you were the last to see him? Just had to check we were still filming. I caught a flash out the corner of my eye. It was probably some notification on my phone. He worked with me, ma'am, on the field generators, and he was with me the morning of his disappearance. I don't know if anyone saw him after about noon. No one admits having done so. Do you think anyone's lying about it? I don't say that, but I don't say that I want the blame for it either. His dark eyes smouldered. There's no question of blame. The robot acted as it did because of what it is. We're just trying to locate it, Mr. Black, and let's put everything else aside. And now, if you've worked with the robot, you probably know it better than anyone else. Was there anything unusual about it that you noticed? Had you ever worked with robots before? I've worked with other robots we have here, the simple ones. Nothing different about the Nestors except that they're a good deal cleverer and more annoying. Annoying? In what way? Well, perhaps it's not their fault. The work here is rough and most of us get a little jagged. Fooling around with hyperspace isn't fun. He smiled feebly, finding pleasure in confession. We run the risk continually of blowing a hole in normal space-time fabric and dropping right out of the universe, asteroid and all. It sounds screwy, does it? CERN, anyone? CERN? A nuclear holocaust, anyone? No surprise that aliens are here, trying to contain us, savage little naked apes. Dear goddess. Maybe that lady in the checkout line at Aldi was an alien, because she certainly didn't know where the demarcation line between, infinitesimal human territory might be. Unbeknownst to her, I'm by nature extremely territorial and hypervigilant. Ask anyone in the dance scene. The mama T always has a spot. In any club or venue, I always find a spot, and as a creature of habit, I gravitate to that same spot, week in, week out, year in, year out, depending on where the venue is, of course. I mean, you kind of have to laugh. I admit it's a bit nuts, but as my psychiatrist pointed out in our debrief, it's my intelligence and my vigilance and my feelings of needing to be safe in any hyperspace or ordinary reality space. So there is that. But isn't it interesting how he talks about blowing a hole in normal space-time fabric and dropping right out of the universe, asteroid and all? Sounds screwy, doesn't it? Naturally, you're on edge sometimes, but these Nestors aren't. They're curious, they're calm, and they don't worry. Must be a wonderful thing to not ever have to worry or have anxiety or fear or trepidation or distrust or dis-ease all programmed out of you. So you're just pure machine with no emotional responses. Be a bit fucking boring, wouldn't it? But they want to turn us into cyborgs too. Don't forget that. Also another calamity they want to impose upon us. Honestly, it's insane, the whole thing. Mama T's an old-fashioned girl. She'll be staying human till the day she dies, people of Earth. If it comes to it, if I'm forced between choosing being part machine and death, I'll choose death. Famous last words. I have a nasty habit of surviving, but as a matter of principle, it's not fucking normal to want to be part machine. Machines shall be machines, and Homo sapiens sapiens should technically always be human or human, as the case may be. Sentient beings with their souls intact. Steiner warned us 100 years ago to guard our souls. Now, even shopping in a fucking grocery checkout line is bizarro. Well, I won't go on about it because I'm not angry actually. It's just an observation, a bit astonishing. I'm not angry though. There's no point being angry with people who are defective through no fault of their own. They've had their cognition drained out of them by some vampiric fucking force. It's terrifying. It truly is terrifying. I'm sure it's just I'm not sure. I hope it was just a bit of a random anomaly. But I've noticed the last few times I've gone grocery shopping, there's been some kind of oddity, not as obvious as that one, but there's always some kind of high strangeness. Anyway. They're curious, they're calm, and they don't worry. It's enough to drive you nuts at times. Excuse me. When you want something done in a tearing hurry, they seem to take their time. Here we go, hiccups now. Sometimes I'd rather do without. You say they take their time. Have they ever refused an order? Oh no, hastily. They do it all right. They tell you when they think you're wrong, though. They don't know anything about the subject but what we taught them, but that doesn't stop them. Maybe, I imagine it, but the other fellows have the same trouble with their nestors. General Kellner cleared his throat ominously. Why have no complaints reached me on the matter, Black? The young physicist reddened. We didn't really want to do without the robots, sir, and besides, we weren't certain exactly how such minor complaints might be received. Bogert interrupted softly. Anything in particular happened the morning you last saw it? There was a silence. With a quiet motion, Calvin repressed the comment that was about to emerge from Kellner and waited patiently. Then Black spoke in blurting anger. I had a little trouble with it. I'd broken a Kimball tube that morning and was out 5 days of work. My entire program was behind schedule. I hadn't received any mail from home for a couple of weeks, and he came around wanting me to repeat an experiment I had abandoned a month ago. He was always annoying me on that subject, and I was tired of it. I told him to go away, and that's all I saw of him. You told him to go away? Asked Dr. Calvin, with sharp interest. In just those words? Did you say, go away? Try to remember the exact words. There was apparently an internal struggle in progress. Black cradled his forehead in a broad palm for a moment and then tore it away and said defiantly, I said, go lose yourself. Bogert laughed for a short moment. And he did, eh? But Calvin wasn't finished. She spoke cajolingly. Now we're getting somewhere, Mr. Black. What exact details are important? In understanding the robot's actions, a word, a gesture, an emphasis, maybe everything. You couldn't have said just those 3 words, for instance, could you? By your own description, you must have been in a hasty mood. Perhaps you strengthened your speech a little. The young man reddened. Well, I may have called it a few things. Exactly what things? Oh, I wouldn't remember exactly. Besides, I couldn't repeat it. You know how you get when you're excited? His embarrassed laugh was almost a giggle. I sort of have a tendency to strong language. That's quite all right, she replied with prim severity. At the moment, I'm a psychologist. I would like to have you repeat what you said as nearly as you can remember, and even more important, the exact tone of voice you used. Black looked at his commanding officer for support, found none. His eyes grew round and appalled. But I can't. You must. Suppose, said Boggart with ill-hidden amusement, you address me. You may find it easier. The young man's scarlet face turned to Boggart. He swallowed. I said... His voice faded out. He tried again. I said... And he drew a deep breath and spewed it out hastily in one long succession of syllables. Then, in the charged air that lingered, he concluded almost in tears. More or less. I don't remember the exact order of what I called him, and maybe I left out something or put in something, but that was about it. Only the slightest flush betrayed any feeling on the part of the robo-psychologist. She said, I am aware of the meaning of most of the terms used. The others, I suppose, are equally derogatory. I'm afraid so, agreed the tormented Black. And in among it, you told him to lose himself. I meant it only figuratively. I realise that. No disciplinary action is intended, I am sure. And at her glance, the General, who 5 seconds earlier had seemed not sure at all, nodded angrily. You may leave, Mr. Black. Thank you for your cooperation. Right, that part of the story ends with a little ellipse there. So I'm going to take that as a place to break up the chapter. I'll be back with part 2, no doubt, tomorrow, or sometime soon in the space-time continuum, because as I said at the beginning, it's rather a long one, about another hour's worth of reading, and we're 47 minutes in, and I'm tired. So it's been a pleasure reading to you, but the mummy is tired, and I don't like to get too tired these days because it makes me very weak and have difficulty walking, and I fear overdoing things and becoming even further potentially disabled than I already am with my varied mental health issues, to put it delicately. So, and I want to watch a bit of television before I go to bed tonight too. I like to watch Netflix or Stan, because I like to pick my own shows. I don't watch free-to-air TV because it's just mindless drivel mostly. So I like to watch my own shows, and they're usually, you know, quirky and weird and out of left field like me. So there is that. So anyway, I bid you good evening, and for the Jewish people that come to my channel, a peaceful and restful and happy Shabbat. Mama T's gonna have a rest now too. It's due. It's well due, well overdue actually, but I've done well. Do you want me to show you the Rolex that I was talking about in my earlier video? So you can see what it is I've been doing. Look at all the chaos on my couch, all the bags piled up, and I'm quite proud of myself, but this is why I'm tired. Hang on, all my joints are going to make loud noises now. Oh, 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 oh. Right, here we go. No, that's the wrong one. So I've been very professional and organised about everything, very organised. Something's happened to my brain. I think it's as a consequence of CPAP. I have everything in their own little containers and everything neatly packaged. I even wrote a little note here for myself, so when I go to spin, I know exactly what it is I've got in each pillowcase. And I keep the spun wool Rolags, or all the wool, in pillowcases, cotton, so they can breathe. But this is what I've been doing. This is called a Rolag because it's rolled up, but it's all soft and fluffy and zhuzhed up, you know, and it's preparing the wool for spinning. And I've done quite a lot. I've got a fistful. It doesn't look like much, but that and the other little pillowcase was a whole day's worth of work, people of Earth, which is why I'm tired. And as I said, it's hard on the hands, you know, pulling and drawing the fleece out. So I'm very proud of myself, and you know, certainly come a long way. When I've finished decoupaging that little purple box, I might consider drawing a design and start doing a little tapestry weaving as well. But I want to, of course, knit that fairy first, which is the other project I started. So there's lots of things happening at Titania's Realm, creativity-wise. Lots of things being made and created. And in the midst of that, I've got to finish off those 2 hearts for Tarina. I'm waiting on this metal stamp to arrive. It better bloody arrive this time, because it's been delayed because of that. And I want to, yes, finish that, and I want to try and cast my tooth, but I think I don't know if it's going to be possible to do the tooth because of the roots. It's going to be hard to get the metal to go down into the roots of the tooth, and probably would be better done by another method of casting called lost wax casting or something like that. But then I'd have to outsource the tooth to a stranger, and trust me, no one wants to work on someone's gnarly extracted tooth. It's not a biohazard anymore because it was, you know, sterilised and soaked in formaldehyde, but it's still a pretty gruesome looking thing for someone to have to touch. So I can't really do much with that. If I can't get it to cast in the Delft clay, I won't be able to fulfil my ambition to have it cast in sterling silver and wear it on my necklace. So there is that. But if it fails and I can't do it, I could cut the crown off, you know, saw it off, and set it in sterling silver ring. There's another way around it to sort of preserve it that way, but it wasn't my initial plan. I guess I'll be a bit disappointed if I can't copy it in sterling silver and wear it on a chain. Weird little things that have as a shame, and they're important to me and no one else. So I've still got all those alpaca that I have spun, all these 3 things. I thought this was the last of the alpaca, which is why I'm a bit thrilled that I found that little bag left over and made some more Rolags from the scraps. So I've got 3 of these. These have been washed, still to ball up, which I've been meaning to ball up for the last few days, but I've been distracted with other projects. So that's a job I might do this evening while I'm watching TV, just wind them up. So, very creative and busy at Sacred Space Titania's Realm, and I'm very happy about it, but it's killing me. It's killing me, people of Earth. I'm exhausted. But, you know, I guess I'm in a hurry, feel like I'm under pressure in a hurry to complete things and do things. So I'm not sure what the pressure or hurry is. It's self-imposed actually, but I'm just, keeping myself busy and entertained and doing various lovely things. And as I said to Rata yesterday, I look around my house and everywhere I look there's things that I have made, or paintings that my daughter Crystal also made for me in this lounge. What was that? The charger. And there's beautiful things that I've created, so it gives me a feeling of accomplishment and satisfaction and happiness and contentment. Nothing like making your own. Even making your own wool was a real experience. At first I was afraid, I was petrified, but then I got the hang of it, and now I'm looking forward to making more. But of course, if I make wool, I've spun quite a lot of wool in the last 12 months or so. I have to utilise it because, why make it if you're not going to use it, people of Earth? It's wasteful. So, as I said, I started making the little cardigan for the fairy out of Socks's fur, and I'll just carry on using what I've made already. I've got plenty of other kinds of wool in my stash as well that I've accumulated over the years, but that are bought in op shops or people have given to me or bought new. And I think a few days ago I spent an entire day balling up this big skein that I had actually bought in Spotlight. I think I paid about $15 for it. It was this big hank of wool, but because it had been in storage and it wasn't balled up, it had started to get tangled. So that took me an entire day, 12 hours, rolling it all up. So it's and at the end of the day it's just balls of wool. It's not like I make money out of it or I've got anything amazing to show for it. So it's been a lot of work and a lot of effort, but I was happy when I completed that task, I can tell you, because I actually was wanting to do other things, but I needed to get that done. So anyway, blessed be from Titania's realm, and remember, as always, my favourite motto gifted to me in much more fraught and dangerous times in my personal life back in the day by two doctors in my Jewish community at I think we were at Kadimar at that stage. Both of them in Latin said to me, "Nil caberendum et bastardos." Never ever let the bastards grind you down, and hold on to your souls and your sanity and the love that you have inside you for as long as you can, people of Earth, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Your own soul, your body autonomy, your heart and your mind, and nothing else really matters. So on that note, Goddess bless. Bye for now from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm.